The market is absolutely ripping. My portfolio is by far at all-time highs. I think I'm up like 50% over the past month alone in terms of portfolio performance because my top three positions are Bitcoin, SoFi, and Tesla. And in this video, I'm going to be walking you through all the trades I did today in deploying over $200,000 into the market. Let's jump right in. Okay, so for those of you that have followed the channel, I am doing this covered call strategy. I am following in the footsteps of TJ and others. And a lot of it is new funds that I wouldn't have otherwise put into these positions because I liquidated the entire dividend portfolio. And so I had a whole bunch of money that was sitting there for me to do this. And so if I get assigned on a certain position, a lot of it doesn't really matter because I wouldn't have owned that position in the first place. At least that's my thought process. The other thing that I'm thinking about as I do this is a business, right? I am treating this as a business and I'm looking at the cash flow that I generate every week. And of course, having a market like this, my biggest problem is getting assigned frequently and having the stock run. And so I haven't really been put in positions where, the stock is falling down below where I bought it. And I'm actually having a difficulty gathering premium by selling covered calls because the stocks are on an uptrend. So that's the primer. And the 200K, I think, is obviously some form of clickbait because I did get assigned on stuff last week. And so this is where I'm reallocating that capital. It's not necessarily that I pulled 200K out of my bank account and put it into the market. It's that that money was sitting in cash as of market open and it's now no longer sitting in cash. So here's what I did with that money. Basically, I got assigned on some Tesla at 285. Of course, Tesla is like 320 and I wanted to have exposure because I think Tesla is going much higher. Again, I'm not selling cash secured puts on all of my Tesla position. It's about less than half that I'm selling cash secured puts on, but I want exposure. And so I put out a tweet yesterday, I think it was, or maybe this morning. I'm still on Asia time, so I'm waking up at weird times. Where I said I want to deploy like half of my cash in TSLL and keep the other in cash so that if Tesla falls, I still have cash on the sidelines as dry powder to deploy more. But if Tesla rises, I get that exposure through a 2x leverage TSLL. And so essentially, what I did at pre market, before we even opened, I bought 1,100 shares of TSLL at around $21.40 across two accounts. So I bought 700 in one account, and I think I bought 400 in the other account. And then I also bought 51 shares of Tesla at 342 because I just needed to get to 100 shares to round it off in one account so that I could sell against that. I had like 49 shares and my cost basis on those 49 shares was like $100 per share. So I think I'm at like 230 cost basis now on that one account where I have 100 shares of Tesla. Okay, so those are the first two purchases. About 23 grand in TSLL, 1,100 shares, and about 17.5 on Tesla, just the 51 shares that I bought at $342 per share. I also bought $341 in HIMS. Why 341? Because before I was selling covered calls, I would have weird numbers. And so this is just to round out the numbers in my accounts. I bought that pre-market at 24.9. I'm super, super increasingly bullish on HIMS. I'm just looking at it right now as of trading. It's 28.50. So I'm definitely in the profit on that account. It was about $8,500. I also have long calls on HIMS. I have calls at 22.50 for November 22nd, and I have calls at 30, which are leaps. And both of those are super in the profit as HIMS almost crossed through the $30 mark. It peaked at 29.68 earlier today. And this is insane, right? Because the all-time high for HIMS was in the $25, $26 range, and it's just blowing through these numbers. It's up 22% as of this recording. Now, I also bought 500 shares of Marathon at 22.32, about $11,000. I think with Bitcoin at all-time highs, I want to have exposure to that upside because now that we've broken through these levels, there's price discovery when we break through all-time highs. The search volume for Bitcoin is going to increase. Miners are going to benefit off of Bitcoin. Of course, I have my long-term position in Bitcoin that I don't want to sell. I have no intention of selling anytime soon, but I want to have more exposure to that upside through the miners. I also own Coinbase and I also own CleanSpark, which I bought more of today. So I did all of this pre-market. So 23.5 on TSLL, 17,500 on Tesla, 8,500 on HIMS, and 11,000 on Marathon. That's about 60K that was deployed. Market opens and literally 9:31 a.m. I immediately close out my SoFi covered calls. I think opening the SoFi covered calls in the first place was perhaps a bad decision because of the rate that SoFi is increasing, which is amazing to see. SoFi is like my second largest position. I think technically my largest now because of some Tesla being assigned, but I still have more exposure to Tesla through TSLL than I would in SoFi. So SoFi is still my second largest position. It's up 100% over the past 6 months alone, which is insane. And I think a lot of SoFi bulls, myself included, feel vindicated in what they've been preaching for the past several years. I closed my November 15th $13 covered call. I also closed my December 6th 13.5 covered call. Combined, this cost me about $4,000. Not worth having them opened in the first place because realistically, I didn't want to let my shares go at $13 because I think we can go much higher than here. I recently put out a SoFi video saying that I think SoFi can be at $20 by the end of the year. Okay, so on to my absolute biggest trade of the day. Not really a trade. I bought four cash secured puts on Tesla at $305, basically saying that by this Friday, over the next 4 days, if Tesla were to fall to $305, I would be forced to buy Tesla. And so what happens is that money gets put on hold, and that was $122,000. And for doing that, I got paid $900 in premium to basically write an agreement to say, hey, I'll buy Tesla at 305 if it falls to 305. The downside is if it falls much lower, I'm still forced to buy it at 305. So those cash secured puts are a nice steady source of income there. We'll see if Tesla falls to 305. It could, but at the same time, I don't mind owning Tesla. Even at 305, I don't mind owning it because I can still sell covered calls against that. And Tesla, I don't think is going to fall to 305 by Friday, but we'll see. I've been wrong many times before on this exact. I also sold Marathon $27 covered calls for November 15th. So I bought 500 shares of Marathon. I sold five contracts against that. I collected $200 in premium on that trade. I sold TSLL November 15th, $26 covered calls. And this was just part of the TSLL. So I got $265 for that. And then around 10 a.m., TSLL dipped and I got another 300 shares at $20.96. That was about 6.3K. Now, the most interesting trade of the day is CleanSpark. CleanSpark, I saw a post on X saying that it was going to be unhalted at 10:15 a.m. And the minute it was unhalted, I put a market order in for 900 shares of CleanSpark, and that got filled immediately at $15 a share. So that was $13,500 of CleanSpark that I purchased today. Now the funny part is my CleanSpark got filled at $15 flat, even though CleanSpark was halted at 13.57. So immediately I thought, holy, I paid way too much for CleanSpark. Except when I look at the chart, it immediately starts trading at $16.50, which means that I was $1,400 in profit, even though I had done nothing. It was just a couple of seconds of what my broker filled me at versus what the market was trading at it when it unhalted. And so that's just a sign, I guess, of this market, just absolute insanity. But same thesis here as Marathon. I want to have more exposure to the miners, and I'm obviously selling covered calls against that. So I did sell CleanSpark November 15th, $19 covered calls for $400 in premium. And considering CleanSpark is something that I just went in on at $15, if I get assigned at $19 by Friday, that's $3,600 I make in capital gains, plus another 400 in premium. That's 4 grand in a week for a position that was only 13,500. Like I will take that any day of the week. I'll be the happiest camper in the world. You can say what you want about Tevis getting assigned. I'm happy to get assigned at that price. Same with Marathon, same with TSLL, same with a lot of these that I'm now just cycling through. I'm happy to get assigned at these prices. I also sold a Tesla 405 call. So, like I said, I needed the 51 shares to round out to 100 in my account. So I sold one call at $405 for this Friday, which I mean, dude, if it hits at 405, then I'm more than happy getting assigned at 405. I don't think it will, but let's see. I got about $210 in premium there. And finally, I sold more TSLL covered calls at a price that I wanted to sell them at. So again, this was the same strike price, November 15th, $26 covered calls. I got them at 73 cents on average, which is $780 in premium. And along with my other covered call on TSLL, that's $1,000 in premium for just 4 days for Friday. And if TSLL hits those prices, then I'll be very happy because it's $1,000 plus all the capital gains that I would have made on TSLL over the past 4 days. So we'll see what happens. The market is absolutely insane right now, red hot. I think sentiment is really high, myself included. You know, TSLL and Tesla are both running. HIMS is running, which I'm really happy to see. CleanSpark, Marathon, Coinbase, they're all running because Bitcoin's at all-time highs. It's absolutely insane right now. And I think that we will have a pullback at some point. I don't know whether that's going to happen, in the next couple of days or whether it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks or months. But I do think that there's a lot of money on the sidelines. A lot of those people were hedging their bets before the election. And now that they have certainty over the policies, over what the next 4 years are going to look like, I think a lot of that money is flooding back into the markets to capture those gains. The Fed is also lowering rates. So people are not getting as much in treasuries anymore. People are going to be flooding back to the markets. Bitcoin's at all time highs. Tesla's at 52-week highs. SOFI's at 52-week highs. HIMS is at all time highs. This past month for me and my portfolio has been the best month in my entire 7 years in the market in terms of the actual amount of money that's made. Not in terms of the percentage, but in terms of the actual aggregate number. Of course, the portfolio has gotten much bigger over the past 7 years. So it goes without saying that that's going to be the case, but just everything is running and running in a big way. And this is how I was planning to capitalize on it. So I've got a whole bunch of covered calls expiring on Friday on TSLL, on Marathon, on CleanSpark, on Tesla. And then I have cash secured puts on Tesla. I also have cash secured puts on HIMS at $23, which is, it's never going to hit, but we'll see if it hits or not because it's HIMS. It'll be very erratic. And of course, I have long calls on SOFI. I have long calls on HIMS. I have long calls on TSLL. I have long calls on a whole bunch of other names. So very happy camper. Like I said, if you do like these videos where I'm sharing some of my covered call strategies and what I'm doing in the market and what trades I'm making, please let me know and I will make more of these videos. I will keep you updated. But I just thought since I was tweeting so much about it, I might as well stop and make a quick video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.